Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Motoman Dan, and today we're going to be looking at the patch notes for the 120-2022 update, which came out right Thursday, on the 20th there. Just some notable changes that were made. Check this out. The lobby. New games, list displays, posted games from all nodes. Basically, it's a co-op lobby. And this is beautiful. This is what they needed to have from the very beginning. This is what it needs to look like. One button, search everything right away. Of course, you can go in and you can look for anything specific. Of course, you might do that if there's a bunch of people. Obviously, there's not. It's still not the best. Co-op still needs a chat function, and it still needs a better ping system, in my opinion, as well as it needs to not be region locked, or at least have like an Age of Empires. Whenever you go to search for a game, you can see all the games, but you'll see where they're hosted and how the latency is, and so you can choose whether or not you want to join them. And it'll have like a little yellow dot if it's above 200, MPS, and then if it's less than that, it'll be a green dot to kind of let you know that your connection may or may not be so stable connecting to them. And I think it doesn't show red, so that would be really nice to see if that could be included as well, because that would really open the door, and that would take over the Discord. The reason the Discord works so well is because you can not only coordinate a time to be on together, but also you can chat with each other, voice chat and all that, built in, of course, to Discord, and you can play with people that are not in your same region, so you don't have to actually host, and then they can't search for you because they're over in Europe and you're in America, kind of thing. So Discord kind of solves those problems, and if they could create a co-op lobby that would solve those problems, I think it would be a huge benefit to the platform, especially if they could make it cross-platform, PC to Xbox and PlayStation, and kind of combine them all. No problems with co-op there whatsoever. That'd be great. The next thing they have is 2 new endless maps. I haven't unlocked the Great Room one yet. We'll do that at some point, but we did the Cliffside last night on the 21st. So if you look for that stream, we played Cliffside 50 waves. It's pretty good. I like Cliffside quite a bit. Actually, I like it a lot. The wave 8 was that was something, man. They really threw a lot at you right at wave 8. But that's nice. That's what I wanted to see. Sappers, of course, that means that you probably can't go wave 1000 without intervention, so you can't like sleep on it. I'm curious about the first one, but we'll see. The next update that they came out with for new content is a new Evil Vorvik skin. So to select your skin, you go into the spellbook, bottom left, click on heroes, click on your champion, and click these little arrows down at the bottom underneath them. And then whenever you get the one you want, you can just double click it and to switch between them. I really like this skin. Some people say it's not their favorite, but I don't really care for the other two as much as the Evil Vorvik. I think this is a cool one. All right, as far as the next thing that they added was Scramble, new Scramble buffs and debuffs. The buffs can include increased buff choices. So you go from 3 options to 4 options when you select your buff. That's one of them. We'll have them all on the screen here. The next one is a buff duration frozen is what it's called. It doubles the duration that enemies are frozen. And let me tell you, we did have this on one of the scrambles we did. And it's pretty bonkers, man. You can have a freeze wall, freeze an enemy, and then freeze an enemy again before they thaw out, which is pretty awesome. There's a debuff that they came out with, which is similar to something they had in Unchained, and it forces you to lose coin. I think it's probably per second. It's like 10 coins per second. So as soon as you start a game with this debuff, you have to go, and you can't really rack up and save coins. This is a challenging debuff to face, and I'm glad that they have it in there. There were a lot of debuffs you can kind of get around, and they weren't super scary. Maybe the crowd control immunity was probably the scariest one, but you could still get around it, right? Because flip traps still work. Yeah, this one is a pretty scary one. Being coin drained is pretty scary. The next debuff is a debuff called Lose 3 Loadout Slots. Again, I haven't seen this one. This one could also be fairly detrimental, especially if you have enemies with lots of immunities and you kind of need a few you need trinkets or specific weapons to help you. There's another debuff called Increase Melee Aggro Cap by 2. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think your melee aggro cap is 3 currently, like by default. And then this adds an additional 2. But I think some of the big enemies count for more than one of those like aggro minion things. So I'm not exactly sure if this is a bad thing. You know, having aggro isn't always the worst thing in the world. But yeah, that's pretty cool. There's a buff you can get called Headshots will trigger an explosion, dealing damage to surrounding enemies, and that explosion damage is a pretty hefty chunk, I got to admit. I quite like that one. We played with that as well as another one, which is the next thing, the debuff. Headshots will trigger a pulse that heals surrounding enemies, just headshots, not kills. The crossbow is a headshot kill, does damage to surrounding enemies. This is just headshots. Similar to the headshots generate coin kind of thing. The explosion damage is super nice. The healing isn't as bad, or doesn't counterbalance the explosion. The explosion damage is still higher than the healing, so you can still kind of clear everything up if you get both up. Now we got one that says traps cannot be sold after placed, no refunds. This one kind of blew my mind, because a lot of times with some of the maps you would maybe build in a certain location and sell and then move somewhere else. Typically it's done because of part time, but yeah, I'm very interested to see if that matters too much. You know, you misplace a trap or something, and you're just like, oh crap, and you can't sell it. Or you can't sell archers if you're on like the Rift Lord difficulty stuff. You can't sell archers to replace them to get new ones. Yeah, that's pretty interesting stuff. I would also hope to see, and I don't think this is going to be the case, but Barricade Rubble stay and not be able to be sold. So a barricade, if it gets destroyed, it stays as rubble, and then enemies can walk over it, but you can't sell it to place another barricade there. That would be really cool to add to this. That's all the additions to the Scramble buff and debuff. There's really, really cool stuff in there. I really like the new Scramble stuff. All right, now we're gonna get over to the bug fixes. We're just gonna kind of pump through these real quick. The Scramble co-op UI improvements, no idea what it means. Crash fixes, great. Improvement memory management, again, no idea. Skulls in the world are granted to players when a mission is complete. That's a big one. It used to be that whenever you killed like the boss or something, if you didn't pick up the skull and the round ended, it would just not count towards anything. Added status effects help screens. Let's try and find that real quick. I don't know what that means. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, so we got the mini map. This is new. It's telling you enemy boss enemies. It's telling you locked door, enemies coming this wave, enemies attacking, enemies not attacking. So it shows you that. This is split stairs, and it shows you portals. Okay, so that's good. That's a good help tip. This is the split stairs barricades thing. I like how they have the wheel still moving as if it's trying to load. Okay, I think that's part of it. Yeah, I don't remember if this ever shows up, but I think it does if you go through the help through the spell book. This is new, so you can mouse over the information at the top. That's good. Selecting the traps, and you can organize. Okay. Endless mode. Oh, nice. Beat as many waves as you can before losing your rift points. The further you go, the tougher the enemies get. Mr. Moneybags costs your rift points, but killing him will earn you tons of rune coin. That's nice that they added it here. You don't know anything about Moneybags until you've met him. Be 25 waves or more for 5 skill performance. This is also good because a lot of times the question comes up, you know, how many waves is it? And some people say 40. I think it was 40 in like the first 2, but no, it's 25. Which is nice. Could you imagine playing some of those maps 40 waves? Take forever. Scramble mode, they've added. Yeah, this must be new as well because I don't remember them having a help screen for that. Oh, look at this. Okay. Good. Good. So affected by magic, increases elemental damage taken by 15%. Bleeding deals physical damage over time. Depends on the source of the bleed as to how much damage it does. Burning does fire damage over time, except for an arcane brimstone that also does burning. Arcane damage instead of fire, but it's 7 damage a second for 4 seconds with a 20% slow, although our testing led us to believe it's more like a 10 or 11% slow. We got charm. The fights for the player on death surrounding enemies are damaged. Yes, the only way to do that is the Scepter of Domination. So they're missing a few of them here. Let's see if they... Okay, they get more from... All right. Distracted. Enemies move in the opposite direction. This doesn't always work. I think it has something to do with the checkpoint that they have to go to. Because you guys may have seen, I believe, last week or earlier this week, we did switchbacks, and we had some butterflies up on the wall, and some of the enemies would get hit by the butterflies, and they would continue walking forward instead of backwards. So I think it has to do with the checkpoint that they're trying to reach, or that they have reached already, kind of thing. But anyways, that's what it's supposed to do. With electrified, enemies on death, surrounding enemies are damaged and movement stopped. That's the stop movement is called zap, and when they're zapped, it's like a 0.5 second movement interruption. That it can't be reduced. It's more of an animation thing, so it can't really be reduced by crowd control reduction. But yeah, it's nice. Electrified enemies. The explosion is really nice and really helpful, especially when you make a nice little choke point. Maybe use lightning lasers. Yeah, electrified is really good. Frozen stops movement, enemies, or increased physical and ice damage taken. Nice. Launched enemies, ragdolled. Ragdolled isn't necessarily when they're in the air. It's when they're not standing up. So there's a movement that you have to be really keen to watching. But when they're on the ground, they're still considered ragdolled or prone, where they'll take double damage from all sources, as well as if they're in the air, gravity pillar, flip trap, whatever. So it's really good. Flip traps are really good in the game, just because they affect everything and all that stuff. Oh, I forgot to say, Frozen increased physical and ice damage by 30%. It does stack with other things. So Airborne and Frozen will stack. You'll have it at 30% and then like a 2 times kind of thing. Scared enemies move in the opposite direction. The only way to apply that is with the Jar of Ghosts. I forgot to mention, the only way to apply distraction is with the Window of Butterfly. Slowed is, of course, Tar. You can do Tar and Grinder. It's 50% on the Grinder, 50% maxed out Tar. You have to get all the level upgrades for that. Petrified, enemies who are petrified or stoned, which they probably changed it to petrified for continuity reasons, I guess. Stops movement, increased physical damage taken. That does stack with Frozen and Launched. So you can see you start getting a lot of damage once you stack everything up. Stunned, there's several ways to do it. Crossbow, I don't know why they showed the butterflies, because they should be confusion and send them backwards. But it would be the crossbow stun or the pounder stun, push trap stun, that sort of stuff. All right, and then we get the last 3. Golden creates a chance that a gold coin spawn on death. I think it's a 30% chance, which is really high. And then if you get the larger coins, it's like a 50%, but I don't know if it counts as like 50% of that 30, or if it's 50% by itself and then 30 is somewhere else. But anyways, it's really good. It drops. The small coins are 25, the big coins are 50. So, it's not huge. It probably doesn't pay itself off in a hot minute, but you can make quite a bit of money on it. Yeah. Melt, increased physical damage taken by 50%. So melt stacks with stone, stacks with petrified, stacks with ice, stacks with airborne, doing a lot of physical damage. And then Rift Rush, enemies will move 25% faster into the rift, and they will not aggro on targets, which is decoys and archers, or other players, I guess. And they'll just run straight into the rift, straight for the rift. They get that Rift Rush when they're close to the rift, and they also get it when you're dead. When the player is dead, either one player is dead. So it can be used to your advantage if you want to speed enemies up, get them through a kill box faster, get them into a kill box faster. But otherwise, they do avoid your archers and stuff. They'll stop attacking them. So if you put up archers in the back or decoys, or I guess knights or priestesses, they'll just start running past them, and then you can end up getting leaks if that's your kind of defense. All right, cool. So that's the help screen. That's nice. I like the help screen quite a bit. That's for newer players, and I hope that people use it. I don't know how many people use this, but definitely gotten better, so that's good. There was a fixed bug where co-op players would get stuck in the spellbook post-game. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it myself. Cyclopia Mesmerizers no longer fire a constant beam at some units. I don't know what that means. Maybe their attack will only last a certain amount of time, and then if they don't because you could put an archer up on a balcony, and then as a matter of fact, we see this in the first Cold as Ice campaign, the Northern Rampart. We put archers up on the balcony, and they shoot down. And Cycloptic Mages and Mesmerizers, whenever they shoot up, they hit the edge of the balcony, so they can't actually hit the archers. And they'll just continuously shoot at them, even though they can't do any damage. And so this might be in relation to that, where they'll have like a maximum amount of time they're going to attack, and then then they'll just move and then attack again and move and attack again. So this allows them to kind of circle around and actually get an angle to where they can hit the archers. They fixed various issues with units not passing through doors. Good. Players can now interact with war machines while using abilities. I don't know what that means. Does that mean like the Stone Staff secondary attack or something? I'm not sure. Mega Boom Barrel Launcher aim is now correct for client with range upgrade. That's good. Trap reset trinket now properly resets the Boom Barrel dispenser. That's nice. I was very surprised every time I used a trap reset trinket that the boom barrels did not do anything at all, but that's good. Stoning enemies or enemies being stoned is misunderstood in many languages, so petrifies or petrifying is now used in the stone staff of the Cyclopean Gaze trinket description. That's good. Stoning is the act of throwing stones at someone, and in older cultures and older religions, that was kind of a thing, and still might be in a few cultures out there. And so saying that you're stoning, you have a stoning ability that doesn't really, equate to what some people may understand as what it actually is doing, which petrifying is the correct term. All right, and they fixed an issue where enemies would not enter the rift on Icebound Mine. I never experienced that, but interesting. Added force feedback controller support for the flamethrower. Cool. The polished visual bug that happened is Ring of Storm Cloud now shows for the client. That's good. Balance changes. All right. So we have a few things. We have Spike Trap. The damage is increased from 30 to 50 for the trigger, which 50 is the health for a Light Orc. So now it kills everything on one hit, in which case I would run lightning damage now. Used to do Arcane because it wouldn't kill anything, but now it kills, so now I would run lightning damage personally. Reduce the base cost of barricades. Barricades went down 200, so the doubles from 12 to 1,000. Singles 800 to 600 when it's fully maxed out. You got all the level upgrades. So level upgrades maxed out. You go 600 for singles, 1,000 for doubles. I think this is going to be really beneficial for a lot of people. Starting out with barricades, a lot of people do, and they spend a lot of money on barricades for round one. You want to typically not do that unless you can, condense enemies into one square for your first wave, and then sell everything at the first wave. I think this is going to help people that have a hard time selling everything right away, and they can kind of leave that little kill box up with a little bit extra money. And tar as well, because normally you go barricade to tar, and then you'd have some ceiling trap and some wall trap, and that would be your wave one kind of build. And so saving some money to build elsewhere and not having to sell that is good. So yeah, I like the change. I think it's good for newer players especially. Yeah, it's a good change. And then we got lower the cooldown of Ceiling Pounder. They absolutely needed this. Now they're pretty good. 6.5 second cooldown now for the Ceiling Pounder is a fairly short cooldown. One of the shortest cooldowns of the game. And the Ceiling Pounder does stun everything underneath it. It doesn't see a lot of love, but there's reasons for that, because it was such a long cooldown that, the trap real estate for the ceiling, it goes ceiling, wall, floor for the amount of space that you have overall in all maps. Some maps may have a little bit, all maps have floor, right? And you don't have like places on the floor where you generally can't build. And then you have walls, which are more common than ceilings. If you look at something like Cliffside, for example, that's a good map to look at when you're looking at real estate. And so since ceiling is more valuable than everything else, you need your ceiling traps to be better than everything else, and they compete against each other because there's so many good ones like the Ice Dart Spitters, lasers, Gravity Pillar, Molten Gold. I mean, you got really good ones that the Ceiling Pounder has to fight against, and I think the cooldown reduction is nice. I really do. They also lowered the cooldown of Acid Geyser from 17.5 seconds to 15 seconds. I don't know if it needed a buff, but cool. I think people don't use it because it's acid, and acid is maybe like the least valuable debuff that you can have, or the least valuable element that you can have against enemies. But that's fine. I wish acid did % health damage, maybe instead of removing armor, but that's okay. Maybe that's more of a poison thing. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So that's so. Thank you all for joining me for the patch notes that came out on Thursday. Robot has posted them, I believe, on Twitter. Maybe they definitely put them in Steam. You can read them on Steam. You can read them from the game clients as well. You can read them on Discord. They're on there. They're also on Reddit for the Orcs Must Die 3 Reddit. And they're on the wiki page. So in the description below, I will link the wiki page to the patch notes, and you can check it out. We have the patch notes for that. And we have the patch notes from 8/11/2020, 2021, I should say. And that was, yeah, that had a lot of changes on it. But this one had fewer changes overall. But I think some of those changes were very good. My favorite change of the entire process, of the entire thing, is this Find Games option. This is my favorite change. This is a step in the right direction. It just needs to go a little bit farther, and I think they've got co-op the bag. But anyways, that's it for today. This has been your boy Motorman Dan, and I will catch you on the flip side.